Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WinDailySports.com podcast. I am delighted to be joined here by Ryan Fox. Ryan's had a stellar career, a stellar year so far, moving inside the top 50 in the world in what's really turning into a golden era for New Zealand golf. Ryan, welcome. Thanks for being on the show.
No problem, Dave.
Ryan, so a couple of great performances for you recently. We've seen 26 of the Masters, great performance at the PGA Championship as well, another top 25 and a top 25 at the Charles Schwab. What's the state of your game at the moment? You must be feeling full of confidence.
Yeah, the game's close, to be honest. It's I haven't quite put it all together. I haven't quite put 4 rounds together, but it's a little different playing over here. Not quite full time, but the majority on the PGA Tour compared to Europe. It's been a pretty steep learning curve, golf course wise. Obviously, playing against a decent chunk of the top 50 week in, week out, and for the most part, I've been pretty happy with how it's gone.
Absolutely. I mean, touching on those golf courses, Oak Hill, obviously an incredibly brutal test, I think it's fair to say, for everybody in the field. And then Colonial, quite a different type of test. What about your game translates so well to different types of courses?
I guess at the moment, I don't feel like there's too many weaknesses there. My short game's tidy enough. My putter's definitely been a bit more consistent the last couple of years, and wedge play's been really, really solid lately. And I've always, ball striking and driving's generally been the strong part of my game anyway. And it was always, if the other stuff turned up, I was going to do okay. And I feel like it's just the other stuff's there more often than it's not now, which is nice. And playing hard golf courses, I've always enjoyed. I guess knowing you don't have to shoot 20 under every week is kind of nice for the most part. And like at Oak Hill, you just knew you turned up and you shot even par. For the most part, you were going to have a really good week. And until that rain came on Saturday and softened the golf course up slightly on Sunday, around even par, probably would have won that tournament if it stayed firm and fast. And it's kind of fun playing that kind of golf. Maybe not every week, but yeah, I do enjoy that.
Yes, I mean, look, it was very similar to Bethpage, and we obviously saw Brooks Koepka secure the win at both of those courses. Another North American course, very, very similar in terms of its length and its toughness. I mean, just to touch on LIV, I know that you've mentioned previously that you were approached by LIV Golf. Now that you've secured your special temporary membership on the PGA Tour, which is a massive win for yourself, any reflection on making that decision? What was that process? What went into making that decision for yourself?
To be honest, in the end, it wasn't a very hard one last year. After winning Dunhill, I was, I think, top 25 in the world at that point, and I knew I was going to get the Masters. I knew I was going to get the Players, Bay Hill, a bunch of other PGA Tour events, and a chance at, at least a schedule to be able to try to get temporary membership and then push for something further. And in the end, it was, I could live with not taking the money, but I'm not sure I could live with turning down the opportunity. It would have, though, all of those events I mentioned were events I dreamed of playing growing up. And even if I'd have played bad, I still could have reflected at the end of my career going, I got to play Arnie's event, I got to play the Players, I got to play Memorial, all of those events. And, while there is definitely some attraction for LIV and, the schedule and everything else that they've got, I certainly couldn't turn down the dream of being able to play on the PGA Tour. It was pretty much a no-brainer in the end.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, that must have been such a special experience at Augusta National. I mean, I think it's the dream of any casual golfer just to lay eyes on that beautiful plot of land, let alone get to play on it. And obviously special for yourself as well, having your father, Grant Fox, one of New Zealand's greatest All Blacks there as well, to share that experience. Can you speak about that relationship a little bit with your dad? How has he influenced as another sort of top performing professional athlete, and what was that experience at Augusta like together?
Yeah, I mean, Dad caddied for me a lot growing up. He was a rugby coach for all my rugby teams growing up. So I think from early on, I sort of I felt like I had a sports psychologist without effectively having a sports psychologist. Dad was always very mentally tough. Um, Obviously goal kicking, I think there's some similarities to golf in terms of, the repetition, the routine of it, the fact that it's all on you. There's not too many outside influences. You're not reacting to what's in front of you. So I think I could learn a little bit from Dad in that regard. And then when he caddied for me growing up, he was good. We had our little father-son arguments as can be expected for the most part. But I think I learned a lot from him being on the bag about being tough, about routine and stuff like that. And then I was lucky to be able to take that into the professional game. And then I guess Augusta was kind of a bit of a reward for him in that sense. I mean, obviously, the results of the last few years are enough for him. But Dad traveled a lot. They spent a lot of money, Mum and Dad getting, for me playing amateur golf and early professional golf and stuff like that. So, the Masters is kind of the pinnacle of golf, I guess, to get there. It's the hardest tournament to get in, and for them to be able to come up and watch, and Dad to be able to, caddy in the par 3 comp and wear the overalls and get to hit a shot on the par 3 and have that all documented. And I think we got sent a pretty cool photo from Augusta of me and Dad in the par 3 comp. So it's those are pretty cool memories, and having kids of my own, I can imagine what something like that would be like, sharing that with your son or daughter or whatever. So it was pretty cool to have them there. And as I said, kind of a nice little reward for everything they sacrificed to get me to where I am.
Absolutely, I can only imagine it must be pretty special. And I mean, is your dad a handy golfer? I don't know what your dad's handicap is. Does he play a bit himself?
Yeah, he's played off between 3 and 6 for as long as I can remember. So it's a little bit inconsistent at times, as most recreational golfers are, but he can certainly get it around, no problem.
All right, a lot better than myself then. You touched on your Alfred Dunhill Links championship win, which is obviously, arguably the biggest victory of your career. It's an incredibly prestigious tournament. You've also had a 16th of the Open Championship previously as well. I was just wondering whether you've played Royal Liverpool before, and what about links golf suits your game so well?
I've never played Royal Liverpool, but I've heard good things. My manager grew up playing there, so hopefully he can provide a few little insights on how to play the golf course when we get there in July. But for links golf, for me, I've always enjoyed the challenge, the creativity needed to play it. There's no right or wrong shot you can hit. You can run along the ground, you can hit big hooks, you can hit big cuts. Grew up playing in the wind in New Zealand, as most Kiwis are pretty used to that, and I don't find it too hard for the most part playing in the wind. And yeah, as I said, it's a fun challenge. They're cool golf courses to play, and I've been lucky ever since I've been on tour. We've had some pretty good links golf on the European Tour, DP World Tour now, and I've generally had some pretty good weeks out on those links golf courses as well. So that probably helps. When you play well, it helps you enjoy it as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, at WinDailySports.com, we love winning big, and we also love in-depth statistical analysis and diving into the stats. I was just wondering, in terms of your process, how much does data come into the game now? Have you seen that change over the last decade or so, and how do you use that data to enhance your performance?
I'm very old school, to be honest. Data doesn't play pretty much anything in what I do. I try to make it as simple as possible in that regard. But in terms of data in the game, obviously it's huge now. From all the data you can get from TrackMan in terms of fitting a golf club and stuff like that. I know there's some guys that really go in depth and use stats to basically pick how they're going to play a course week in, week out. That's just kind of not how my brain works. And I've always enjoyed playing golf, enjoyed creating shots, that kind of stuff. So the data part of it's I've always struggled with a little bit. So it is kind of an interesting in the last 10 years how much the game has changed in that regard. I'm probably one of the few guys that still does it, I guess, the old school kind of way. But the great thing about golf, and I think a lot of sports, is you just kind of find out what works for you and do that. And I kind of figured out what works for me a few years ago and haven't really kind of messed with that too much since.
Well, I can tell you, diving into stats in terms of Muirfield Village, where you are at the moment ahead of the Memorial saying tomorrow, it's a ball striker's paradise. Obviously, you rate out really well in those categories in terms of your driving distance, your game off the tee, and then your approach play as well. How's the course playing this week, and what do you feel about your chances going in?
I mean, there's decent chunk of most of the top 50 in the world here, and it's a really strong, really well revered tournament. Obviously having Jack's name on it, it's about as prestigious as it gets for a PGA Tour event. So my game's in decent shape, but it's just one of those ones. If I feel like I can compete with those guys, if I play well, it's just putting it all together. And I've been close the last few weeks, and I guess we'll see what happens out there. But I do enjoy the golf course, and it's one of the few that I've played before. Everything else has been kind of new this year. So it's kind of nice to be able to take the week a little bit easier in terms of practice. It's been a pretty busy year so far. So, keeping the energy levels up has been pretty important as well. So I'm looking forward to getting out there, and we'll, I guess, see what happens.
Yeah, and probably a little disruption that you didn't want to have in terms of the bout of pneumonia, and also congratulations on a more welcome distraction and having a second wee baby into your life as well. I mean, given the preparation, I guess, wasn't ideal going into the PGA Championship, were you surprised at how you performed there?
Yeah, to be honest, I've normally liked playing the week before majors, and it was. I kind of went in there with pretty low expectations. I think I played one round of golf in 4 weeks in the lead up and done a little bit of work at home. But kind of going in and was more hoping that being mentally fresh would be more important that week than potentially getting the reps under the belt. And when I kind of turned up at Oak Hill, you saw how hard the golf course was. Being mentally fresh was actually really important, and I was pretty patient throughout the week. And it was kind of a funny week. I played awful the first round and got a score out of it from getting up and down from everywhere, and actually played significantly better Friday through Sunday and kind of didn't put a score together. And that's kind of just how golf goes sometimes. But it was a week that I felt like I needed to play well at. I wanted to at least make the cut, and I knew if I did that, I'd pretty much have special temporary locked up. And to finish top 25 was a lot better than expected, and got that nice little benefit of getting special temporary membership as well.
Absolutely. I mean, and how does that play into, has that shifted your schedule for the rest of the year in terms of where you were planning to play compared to perhaps being on the DP World Tour a little bit more? Do you see yourself in the USA a lot more this year?
I'm not really sure at the moment. I mean, the goal for next year is to get a full PGA Tour card, and at the moment I've kind of got a foot in both camps. DP World Tour is taking the top 10, not otherwise exempt, and I'm sitting okay on the money list after not playing too many events there. And I'm okay on the FedEx Cup points list at the moment, but still got quite a bit of work to do. So I'm going to play a little bit of both up until the Open, and obviously with the Open, the US Open, Scottish Open counting for both tours, I kind of get it. I'll be able to take stock after the Open and kind of figure out what the plan is going forward. But it's nice to have options. They're probably options I didn't expect. Halfway through last year, I was just happy to be playing well, and it's been an enjoyable season so far, and looking forward to hopefully playing a bit more out here, and also going back and playing some of our big events in Europe if I can.
Absolutely, and I guess I'll round into that with the final question here, because I mean, when you were sort of speaking like that about chances going into Open Championships and playing for the PGA Tour, potentially, and earning a card, do you ever get a chance to sort of sit back and reflect and actually kind of pinch yourself and go, how have I got here? Some of the hardships you've obviously faced over the years, developing, and then to, be playing against the Rory McIlroys and the John Rahms and playing so well against these players and making all Kiwis incredibly proud. Do you get a chance to sit back and reflect on those moments?
I try to, but I feel like it's been really hard the last year or so. I played a lot of golf last year. And then when I felt like I got some time off, that went so fast it almost felt like I didn't have any time off, and it's been straight back into it this year. And I had a stomach bug, pneumonia, number 2 arriving, so there's been a whole lot of other stuff going on top of the golf. So I think I'm kind of enjoying just going out there and just taking it week to week, not overthinking it, not setting too higher expectations, not sitting back and going, oh yeah, I've done enough, this is pretty cool. Just go out and play every week and just go, okay, well, this is the golf course this week, I'm going to try to beat that golf course and kind of see what happens. And it worked pretty well last year doing that, and it's worked really well this year doing that. So hopefully don't change anything. I would certainly like some time to at the end of this year to sit down and just go, hey, this is, I've ticked off a decent chunk of goals and that I wanted in my career in the last 18 months or 2 years. So it is nice to be able to do that, but at the moment it's just probably too hectic to actually really sit down and get a chance to think about it.
Well, Ryan, thank you so much for your time. I mean, keep doing what you're doing. It seems to be working incredibly well, and I hope you do get the chance to reflect on the journey so far at some point. But if you're living in the moment and continue performing the way you are, we're obviously incredibly proud of your performances so far, and we're all rooting for you back here from Wellington, New Zealand.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.